I want to talk to you about owning a flip phone. I first decided to get a flip phone about 9 months ago. It was a long time coming at that point. I felt incentivized to do it because I was getting really sick of hearing myself in the conversations that I kept having with other people about phone addiction. The conclusion that we kept coming to every time is that we were addicted to our phones. We are only on our phones 90% of the time out of straight addiction. No joy or inspiration or pleasure is being derived. Just addiction and misery. And but we're not going to do anything about it, though. This is the conclusion that it kept coming to, is like, God, like, I just long for this bygone era of technology that wasn't so miserable and addicting and exploitative. And I miss how I felt as a kid when I wasn't, online chronically and I was engaged in the world. Anyways, I'm gonna go on Instagram now. You do that as well. And I'll see you in 4 hours when I log out. I just couldn't do it anymore. I think it was impacting my sense of self-respect and my sense of agency. When you live with a lot of cognitive dissonance, it tends to do that. It's really hard to know that you're doing something that's actively ruining your life and also know that you have no plan to stop. I felt that for about a decade, because I'm 22 now and I got Instagram when I was 12, my only real regrets are spending so much time online. I regret that there are times that I can't remember of my teenage years or early adult years because I was spending time in this other world. Social media, infinite scroll, technology, screens. I felt like time was passing me at an exponentially fast rate that I knew that it wouldn't be passing at if I was offline. When you sit and look at your constant daily routines, you start to see the pattern of when you feel bad and why and what's happening while you feel bad. And it's I hate to break it to you, it is usually the phone. It is the phone. So I decided I was going to experiment because all of my no longer being on my phone attempts in the past had just failed miserably. I tried setting screen time limits. Bitch, you know the password to your screen time limit. You can just turn it off anytime that you want. That's not gonna work. I tried downloading those apps that you block certain other apps and make your phone look like a dumb phone, but it isn't actually. Obviously that didn't work. I can just re-download Instagram. At one point I put my Face ID on the App Store to, I guess, try to deter me from re-downloading apps. I don't know how that would work. It's just gonna unlock when I look at my phone. And now I just have this fuck-ass Face ID on my App Store that I can't turn off. It seemed that the logical conclusion was to try a completely different piece of technology. At the point where I decided to switch to a flip phone, my solution to my phone addiction had been leaving my phone at home, and that was kind of working, I will say. I felt immediately engaged in the world again and present in the world again as soon as my phone was no longer in the room with me. But it became unrealistic because I kept getting lost in stranded places and couldn't reach anybody, and I had to use gas station phones at different times or phones of strangers, and I didn't even know what fucking time it was. I found it very difficult to actually exist in the world with zero technology. So I knew I needed a piece of technology that could do a couple things for me. I needed to make sure that I could be called and texted, especially because I have a job and obligations and a life. And I needed something that could occasionally take a picture and, maybe set an alarm. Basic phone capabilities, but with nothing else. No social media, no infinite scroll, not even a QWERTY keyboard. I really tried to find a QWERTY keyboard and I couldn't. I needed an absolute dumb-ass phone. And I found one. And I used one for the last 9 months. I encountered a lot of unexpected changes in my lifestyle in having this phone. It was incredibly impactful in ways I wasn't expecting, and I am here today to share those with you. I hear the same thing again and again from people when I talk about my flip phone. They say, oh my god, I wish I could do that, and then they don't. And I wanted to set off a chain reaction. That was kind of the idea behind getting it. I figured if I can do it, if I, a person who is certifiably addicted to my phone, can do it and make it work, then I can tell other people this is a feasible option if you wanted to. And I wish that somebody would have walked me through some of the more technical stuff of switching to a flip phone, so that's what I'm here to tell you today. Let's start from the beginning. I got this flip phone in like March. I had gone down some internet rabbit holes trying to identify a phone that was going to work for me. Eventually I found r/dumbphone. Somewhat of an overwhelming place, I'm not gonna lie. I just was suddenly like, oh, this is gonna be so much harder than I thought it was. I thought I was just gonna like go to the T-Mobile store, get the first piece of shit that they had there, and like walk out. And it was obvious quickly that this was not what was gonna happen. And I was like, damn, this is probably where a lot of people give up on their flip phone dream. I realized very quickly that the world is not made for dumb phones anymore, and that this is on purpose. Obviously, you're not going to sell a lot of smartphones, and then there's going to be less data to mine and attention spans to exploit if you're selling these everywhere. So what I found quickly was that a lot of carriers had very limited coverage for a lot of like older gen dumb phones. I really struggled to find something that was going to work with T-Mobile in America. I think it was especially hard because my heart was set on a Nokia or a BlackBerry. They don't want us to have those here in America. It's so hard to get them running. I still haven't figured it out. I got a Nokia. I bought it without like piecing together that I wasn't going to be able to use it. Wasted $100. I was like, damn, this is probably where people give up on their flip phone dream, is when they get the flip phone and it doesn't even work. But I didn't give up on my dream because I remembered that my life was miserable because of my smartphone addiction. So I persisted, and I came across this website called Dumbphone Finder, which I will actually link for you below. I think that this is a godsend. It's just this one guy, this fucking goat, who reviews every flip phone. He has his like top picks for 2026 just came out. You can sort by features. You can like decide exactly what kind of flip phone you want and what your carrier is and what location you're in, and you can sort by that. And so eventually I found that, and I found the LG Classic Flip, which worked in my country, in my state, on my carrier, and I jumped for joy. Once I had actually gotten the flip phone, I ran into another issue I wasn't anticipating. My plan at that time was not to get rid of my smartphone entirely, because I couldn't find another way to post on social media without owning a smartphone. And say what you want, I do like to post. I do like it. And I'm also an artist, and I like to post my art online, and I kind of have to. And I couldn't figure out how to do that on Instagram desktop. And so I figured that I wanted to use that phone every like 6 days. I would just be using it when I was ready to post something. And I didn't have the instant gratification of hitting post on something the second I thought of it, and not get the cheap dopamine hit from the, red like button or whatever. So I intended to use this flip phone for everything else that wasn't that. For any of my day-to-day getting through the world, calls, texts, etc. And I was broke, and I didn't want to expand my phone plan. So my plan was to just keep switching the SIM card out from my smartphone to my flip phone. And you can use your smartphone with no SIM card if it's on Wi-Fi. You can use it for internet, at least, right? But you can't make calls. And so I figured, okay, I'll use it at home on my home Wi-Fi. This caused so many problems. It caused so many problems. I don't even know why. I'm not technologically advanced to know what I was doing wrong. But I was somehow getting, for the first couple months, messages simultaneously on my flip phone, on my smartphone, and on my laptop at my iCloud address. And obviously that was a problem, because I'd be like telling my friends, like, please text me on my number. They'd text me on the contact they have saved, which is actually my iCloud. They message my laptop. I'm out waiting for a text from them. I don't see it till 7 hours later. Ridiculous. And so that was something that I was not anticipating, is that switching the SIM card so many times would make both phones non-functional. Not only this one, but also the old one as well. So I would recommend, if you are looking to get a flip phone and still keep your smartphone, I would honestly recommend expanding your phone plan and having 2 phones, if that's something that you can do financially. If you can't, or if you don't really need or want to be posting anything, get rid of it. Get rid of your smartphone. Get yourself a flip phone that works and is capable. I got very frustrated with the not receiving calls and texts, which was the only thing that I wanted this for. So at this point, I've had this bitch for, 2 months or something, and I'm using it pretty consistently. And I started realizing that a lot of my frustrations that came with using the phone at first were reactions to inconvenience that I hadn't had to deal with in years because I was using a smartphone so consistently. And it made me realize that everything is so geared towards making every process as streamlined and optimized and efficient and convenient as possible, to the point where something that takes you 2 minutes is like an unbearable length of time and an amount of effort and energy that you cannot exert. Even the longest text that I have to send when I'm like really squinting my eyes looking at this keyboard takes me 2 or 3 minutes. That was unbearable at first. I was so used to being able to just send something in 5 seconds and be done with it. And when I have to type, I have to think about what I'm typing. I have to be thinking, like, what's the best way that I can say this? And then it started becoming like, is it easier if I just call this person and explain them right now what I'm trying to say? And then you have to actually talk to your friend on the phone. You might have a conversation. You might even giggle. And then I think the real magic of the flip phone starts presenting itself. Everything that was once an app, you no longer have access to that app anymore. And so you have to live in the world really intentionally and sometimes a little bit inconveniently. Like, okay, for instance, you're parking somewhere, right? And you need to use Park Mobile. Don't get me started on Park Mobile. You have to scan a QR code so that you can pay for your parking spot. Now you can't do that. So now you're gonna need quarters for the meter, which you haven't had to use in fucking years because you use tap to pay for everything. And so now you have to go to the ATM, or you have to go to the grocery store and you have to talk to the attendant there and say, hey, can you break this 5? You might have to have a conversation. Or you might not be able to park there. You have to park 3 blocks away now in the unpaid parking section, right? And now you're walking through the neighborhood and you're looking around and people are there with their kids and beautiful birds and butterflies are going past. Wow, the magic of the universe. I'm serious. So many things present themselves to you when you're not just sucked into the void of convenience that your smartphone affords you. It is so awesome. I think it's also so good for your anxiety and for your sense of urgency to slow down these processes that have become automatic just long enough so that you can think about them while they're happening. Typing, trying to get from point A to point B, talking to your friends. All of these things that have become so optimized and so convenient that you don't derive any pleasure or even thought out of them. Without the smartphone, with only the flip phone with you, like, you can't escape those little mundane moments. That is such a joy and a blessing that I wasn't expecting to have. I didn't know how much I missed living my life in all of its boredom and beauty, honestly. And the hours in my day felt so substantial. It felt like there was finally enough time to get everything done, and then some, and rest and be calm. Because there aren't hours, and not just hours, but massive amounts of your energy and your effort being sucked into this void. Being chronically online, to me, almost feels like you are having like a bad trip. It feels like hallucinatory. Like you enter the internet world. Think about like lying in bed and scrolling for 6 hours, and you just suddenly blink and you're like, the sun's going down. I can't believe I've been in this room this whole time. Like the world stops existing. You're in a different world. You're in this weird temporal space. Now when I was using this flip phone and I was only able to go on the internet at specific times and with a lot of thought put into it beforehand, I was thinking like, this really used to be a picture app. When did my relationship to it change so much? And obviously it's not just my relationship. We know that it's obviously not just an individual usage problem. We do know that at a point, these platforms, these social media platforms we've been using since we were preteens, became intentionally a lot more exploitative. There's a huge vested interest in exploiting your attention and your data and your habits, your online habits. And we've seen these platforms turn from like personal blogs essentially to just like data minefields and endless fucking slop, endless short form content, bro. Sometimes people will send me Instagram reels that I've liked and they'll be like, why the fuck did you like this? And I don't have an answer for myself. I don't even know what I'm doing online most of the time. There's a lot of fun and joy in curating a social media presence. I know that it has its association now with branding and marketing, but I'm talking about like with no financial gain, with no creating a brand for yourself. The internet used to be a place where you just had your separate online identity that you didn't conflate that with your real life. You didn't think it was real life. It's just a place you can go sometimes. Now it's our home. Now we live here in this place that is not built to support human life. And it was a really jarring and cool feeling to feel my hours return to me when I no longer had this pull to this other realm. And I could just be like in my kitchen making dinner barefoot with no distractions, and then sitting at the table and being kind of bored as I eat my meal. And now I can taste the flavors in my meal because there's no fucking Instagram reel 5 inches away from my face while I'm eating it. Just like lying in bed and I'm just like looking at the ceiling and thinking about my life, and I'm like, wow, I can get to the end of a thought because there's nothing interrupting it. I thought a lot about, this is like a DBT thing, like I forget what it's about urges. I'll put the graph up here. Like urge resistance or urge tolerance or something, where you sit and observe the way that your brain fires up in a certain way every time it reacts to a certain thing with an urge, with an impulse. In this case, it would be checking your phone as this sort of like emotionally co-regulating device. When you don't have access to the instant number that interrupts the middle of your urge or your thought, you have to sit there and watch the urge bubble up inside you to escape whatever it is that's happening, whether it's something negative or scary, or it's even just the mundanity of life, how normal everything is. You're watching this urge come up inside you to escape, and there's nothing to escape to. There's no more instant number dissociative 3000 fucking device, and you just have to sit there, and it's uncomfortable, and you watch it dissipate, and you're like, oh, I was actually fine. I didn't need to go and enter the dream world. And the longer that you spend without any kind of distracting device, the more you're able to like resist those urges, and the less they come up and the more infrequent they are. That was crazy. that did wonders for like my self-respect and my self-concept, was realizing that I'm not just a slave to whatever my brain wants me to do. I can choose to be without it, and to be without the coping mechanism I turned it into, and to realize, oh, I can still cope, and I can actually cope in a way that's ultimately a lot more satisfying and helpful for me. That's very good for you. That's good for your image of yourself. You're like, I'm pretty resilient and strong, and I can put my mind to something. And if you can defeat phone addiction, you can probably defeat fucking anything, bro. Do you know how much money is invested into getting you addicted to your phone? Do you know the powers that be, bro, that are preying on your downfall? If you can escape the billions and billions and billions of dollars poured into the exploitation of your brain, you can do anything. You can do anything. Yeah, I called my friends more. I spent my days doing whatever I said that I was going to do at the beginning of that day, because it felt like I had enough time and enough energy to do it. There was nothing that could interrupt me in the middle of the day and suck me in for hours. You know, it's very meditative. Ultimately, the reason that I stopped using it, I had so much difficulty with that SIM card issue. And I had gone to Europe like later in the summer this year, and I knew I was going to need like a phone I could easily be reached by and was going to be reliable. And the specific flip phone I got just wasn't doing that. So I switched my SIM card back, and then by the time that I got back here to California and I was going to switch to my flip phone again, like, the SIM card had just like malfunctioned. I wasn't getting texts at all. It wasn't even like reading the right time on the flip phone, and I was just like, oh, it's over. I think a hard thing to wrap your head around is the fact that this old, non-addictive, non-exploitative technology, like dumb phones, the world of technology now is never going to bend to fit those in or accommodate those. How much money would be lost if they did? Most of living this like offline life is done through being incredibly intentional and constantly reminding yourself why you're doing it and coming back to those values again and again. Because nothing is going to do it for you. I don't think at any time soon in the future we're going to see social media become less addictive, because they just care about us so much, and they just care about our attention span so much, and they don't even want our money and our data and our information anymore. It's totally fine. We're getting rid of short form content. Like, the iPhone home button is never coming back. The QWERTY keyboard is going to be a relic. And I think that no matter how you're personally choosing to be either offline or like engaged with the online realm in a different way, whether you're someone who can actually just set screen time limits on your phone and that's enough for you, that's amazing to me. I couldn't do it. I can't be trusted with the smartphone. Whether it's that or whether you're gonna be like Ted Kaczynski type shit, like you are going to have to choose that path again and again and again and again, because it is more convenient and less frustrating in the short term to just use your smartphone. And to, fuck it, why don't I just buy the iPhone 17? Who cares? Everybody else has it. I want to be able to... I don't know actually what features they have. I don't fuck with iPhones. Every time that I have my smartphone on me, I try to drop it on the ground as hard as I can so that it'll shatter. Or like if I'm done using it, I'll throw it across the room at the wall in hopes that it'll break and I'll be free from it forever. But it doesn't break ever, sadly. The good thing is these are indestructible too. I've dropped this many times, not on purpose. It is difficult. It is difficult to have a flip phone. I've seen a lot of people get them and then forget about them and then go back to their smartphone. And I did that. I did that this fall. I was talking today to my friend who also did that. And that reminded me that I wanted to make a video like this, because both of us were just longing for this era that wasn't even that long ago, of how good and real and engaged we felt when we weren't on our smartphones. I don't know, I think it's going to continue to be really challenging, but I think it is so worth it for everything good that comes out of consistently using a piece of technology like this. I would say to anybody who is interested in doing the same thing and getting a flip phone, I would say, first of all, I would say get on dumbphonefinder.com and find something that's going to work for you and not overcomplicate it for yourself. I would say that it is incredibly worth whatever amount of discomfort or even failure that you experience in trying to incorporate it into your life. And I would say don't be too hard on yourself to begin with about your phone addiction, like why you have it. Remember who's giving it to you. Remember how it got to this point and how it got this bad. But you have personal agency. You have the ability to make different choices, and I don't think I've ever made like a lifestyle choice that has been more effective in changing the way that I operate. Like nothing touches this. Hashtag worth it. And I would love to hear other people's experiences and unexpected changes or cool things that happened to you after getting offline. Again, I don't think there's just one way to do it, but if the screen limits aren't working, if Opal isn't working for you, if you had to put your Face ID on the App Store, if all of those things failed for you, if you are that addicted to your phone, I would say it's dire. At that point, it's dire like it was dire for me, and it's time. It's time for this. It's time. And you can also get a lot of clout for it. If none of what I said so far was convincing, if you don't care about having like a whole and substantiated and beautiful life where you're present and you notice all these things that you didn't before and you feel your attention span like reclaimed and like you're meditative and observant and you're less emotionally reactive and your anxiety is down, if none of that appeals to you, think about how hot and cool you will look when you're at a party and you're like calling your friend and you're like, oh, you're trying to type on this and you're like, I'll just call them, and you call them and then you shut it. Like 5 people around you are like, is that a flip phone? Oh my god, I wish I could do that. I'm so addicted to my phone. Wow, you're so cool. God, let me have your babies. This happens all the time to you. This will happen to you all the time. And once the clout eventually wears off, your life will be changed for the better anyway, so it'll be awesome. If you're watching this, please tell me if you've done something similar to this before, and tell me about your flip phone experiences, and also tell me what your favorite soup is and what country you're watching this from.